Be Wealthy and Smart, episode 261.
Step into a world of wealth and financial freedom without budgets, boredom, or bosses on Be Wealthy and Smart. And now, here's your host, Lynda P Jones.
Welcome to Be Wealthy and Smart. I'm Lynda P Jones, America's Wealth Mentor, empowering women and men worldwide to financial freedom. On today's show, we're going to talk about should you withdraw money from your 401k to pay off your mortgage if you think you're losing your job soon. And what you're going to learn is why it's not urgent to pay off your mortgage and why a 401k is more important. But first, before we get started, I want to let you know about another awesome podcast called Profit Boss Radio. Profit Boss Radio is hosted by MBA and certified financial planner Hillary Hendershot, who highlights inspiring women who have created success in their financial and professional lives. Each week, you can tune in and hear how women have paved the road to sustained success with both beliefs and actions. Check it out at profitbossradio.com. Well, today is Listener Question Day, and this is what a listener wrote to me. Lynda, I'm 45 years old and gross about $100,000 a year. I have $390,000 in my 401k and owe about $175,000 on my mortgage with 17 years left at 2.75%. I have about $100,000 in savings. I fear I may get laid off later this year. Should I withdraw my money from my 401k to pay off my mortgage? Love your show. Thank you, Phil. Well, Phil, there's really three things to address here. First is preparing to lose your job. The second thing is paying off your home mortgage early. And the third is why a 401k is important. So first, let's talk about preparing to lose your job, which is a really hard prospect to face. I totally empathize with you. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are in a similar situation. So one thing that you want to do is just not give in to the fear. I know that this can create a lot of fear. It can just shut you down. It can make you feel like, gosh, I don't want to spend any money. And then, you can work against yourself and actually go out and blow money just because you're so stressed out about it. So all kinds of crazy things can happen when you're in a fearful state. So what I want you to do is lessen the fear, number one. Try and really have confidence that everything's going to work out. Everything's going to be fine. And there are things you can do to lessen the strain, and it doesn't involve dipping into your 401k. I did a whole podcast about what to do when you think you might lose your job, and so I encourage you to listen to that podcast about proactive things you can do if you think you are going to lose your job. Tune into that, and it'll give you some proactive things that you can do, but that's a whole separate podcast. The second thing is paying off your home. I think that's overrated because all you really need to do is make your annual payments. You don't have to pay off a lump sum 17 years in advance. And there's really not a lot of advantage to do that because you have a very low interest rate. So you're not accumulating a whole lot of interest. It's very, very low. And also you get the tax deduction there for the interest. So with a low interest rate, you're good there. And you don't have to rush to pay off your mortgage. I think this idea about paying off your mortgage in advance is a really bad idea because you're getting use of the money, you have low interest, and you need to really save for your 401k, which we'll get to in a minute. And while that $100,000 won't last forever, it will give you ample time to pay your mortgage and find another job. So I don't think that you're in the dire straits that you might think you are because you certainly have a nice savings account to continue to pay your mortgage. That should give you some relief, and hopefully you'll feel better knowing that you can pay your mortgage for many, many months should you have a harder time finding your job. But this is also the time to save more money and to sell any unneeded stuff that you have around the house, any extra cars you have that you're not using. Just reduce your expenses as much as possible. And also maybe if you want to take that nice vacation since you're feeling so stressed out, maybe use some points for the airfare and the hotel instead of paying outright for the vacation. So there's still ways to do things for yourself without having to necessarily pay for them. There's ways to actually access vacations, for example, for free. If you want to pay your mortgage down sooner, you can pay 1/12 extra per month and pay off your interest quicker and increase your equity faster. So on a $1,200 a month payment, 1/12 of that would be $100 extra per month. Or if you have a $2,400 payment, that would be $200 extra per month, etc. Pay that extra each month on your mortgage payment, and that will go toward the interest. And believe it or not, that pays off your interest about 7 years earlier. So you're saving lots of interest, and it's not really costing you a lot to do that. It doesn't cost a lot out of pocket to do that. So if you want to make some progress on your mortgage, that's a nice alternative to stressing about having to pay it off all in advance. I really don't recommend that you do that. Housing debt is the best debt to have because it's the cheapest. It's the least risky, according to the bank, and it gets the best interest rate. So you could also look into a home equity line of credit while you're still employed and have that as an emergency backup fund. But again, only for emergencies and only in a worst case scenario, like it would take you years to get another job, which I don't think it will. But just in a worst case scenario, that might give you an extra peace of mind there. And the third situation is if you dip into your 401k, you're going to have a 10% penalty for being under age 59 and a half, plus any tax due on untaxed income in your 401k. So only on very extreme circumstances and as a very last resort do you ever want to touch your 401k money if you're under age 59 and a half. You need it to grow for retirement separately from your house. And this is a completely separate issue, but over time you're going to be paying off your house. So whatever debt you have on your house will eventually be completely paid off over that 30-year time horizon. It's a forced savings account, if you will. So if you have $300,000 of debt, eventually that $300,000 is going to be paid off and you'll have that in equity. Now, for your retirement, it is separate from your home. You need that separate retirement account to grow so that you have additional money to be able to retire. So you want to be able to invest that in the stock market. You want to be able to grow that at a high compounding rate, and you want to be able to have that extra savings account for you to retire. So that's a need that you have. That's a long-term compounding need that you need to do separately from your home. You'll also want to continue to contribute to your 401k and get that money in there without tax. We'll have to see what the new Trump tax plan looks like, but you might even be able to get into a lower tax bracket if you are contributing to your 401k. So let's see how that turns out, but that could be helpful to get you actually into a lower bracket. In addition to saving in and outside your 401k, you also want to look for some business opportunities on the side. Consider starting a home business or even looking for maybe some part-time work while you're looking for a job. So again, go back to my podcast about how to prepare in case you're going to lose your job, and I cover things like updating your resume and education and things like that. But maybe you could even, fill in a little extra cash by becoming perhaps an Uber driver or something like that. So there's lots of opportunities to make additional money, and you can even do that if worst case happens and you do get laid off. So don't worry, there's still income opportunities out there. I think you've got a healthy savings plan, Phil, and I would not be in a hurry to pay off your mortgage. I think you're in good shape. Just try to stay calm, stay positive, and everything's going to work out just great, and you may even end up better off. If you haven't yet subscribed to Be Wealthy and Smart, just hit your subscribe button, and you'll be the first to know when new podcasts are uploaded. If you haven't yet left a review on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, I really appreciate your reviews. It means so much to me, and it helps people find the show. So I would really love it if you'd leave a review for Be Wealthy and Smart. And if you want to get your net worth moving in the right direction, get 11 quick financial tips to boost your wealth at lindapjones.com. That's all for today. Until next time, live the good life and be wealthy and smart.
Thank you for listening to Be Wealthy and Smart with Lynda P Jones. Share the wealth and tell your family and friends about the show. Check out our website, blog, and social media for more riches at www.bewealthyandsmart.com.